If aliens exist, and the math says they should, then this silence is not peace. It's what's left. Not because no one was there, but because civilizations may all go quiet for the same reason. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. Our galaxy alone has 400 billion stars. The math, cold, indifferent math, says intelligent life should have appeared hundreds of thousands of times by now. There should be signals, traffic, noise. Instead, every antenna humanity has ever aimed at the sky has heard the same thing. Nothing. That silence has a name, the Fermi Paradox, and it may be the most dangerous question we've ever asked. Carl Jung spent his life studying what humans project onto the unknown. He called certain feelings archetypes, patterns so deep they predate language. And the feeling you get staring at a silent sky? He called it the call of the void. Not wonder, not curiosity. The specific, ancient recognition that something should be answering and isn't. Jung believed this feeling was data. Turns out, he was right. And every answer scientists have found to explain it, every single one, only makes the silence louder. Let's start with why the silence is mathematically impossible. 400 billion stars in our galaxy, 20 billion are sun-like. Scientists estimate 5 billion have Earth-like planets in the habitable zone. If just 1% developed life, that's 50 million worlds. If 1% of those reached intelligence, 500,000 civilizations. Right now, tonight, while you watch this, a civilization only 1 million years older than us, which is nothing on cosmic timescales, would have had time to colonize every star in the Milky Way. Every single one. We've had agriculture for 12,000 years. 1 million is 83 times that. So I ask again, where are they? Scientists have proposed over 75 answers to Fermi's question. They all collapse into two categories, and both of them, in different ways, implicate us. The first, we are almost alone because the path to intelligence is nearly impossible. The second, we are not alone, but something stops every civilization from being heard. One says the universe is empty, the other says the universe is watching. Both should disturb you. The first answer is called the Great Filter. The idea, somewhere between dead chemistry and star-faring civilization, there is a step so catastrophically improbable that almost nothing survives it. Not because the universe is cruel, because complexity is fragile. Evolution doesn't care about intelligence, it cares about reproduction. Consciousness, language, technology, these are evolutionary accidents, useful mutations that served survival for a while. The filter asks a harder question. What if intelligence is the mutation that doesn't propagate? What if it's the thing that ends you? There are two positions on where the filter sits. Either it's behind us. The miracle was getting from single cells to complex life, which took 2 billion years of nothing on Earth. 2 billion years of only bacteria. Maybe that's the wall most planets never clear. Or the filter is ahead of us, in which case, every civilization that came before us hit it and disappeared. And we are approaching the same wall, right now. Here is the specific detail that should keep you awake. If we land on Mars, next year, next decade, and find fossils, not bones, not cities, just microbial fossils, ancient, primitive, dead. That would be the worst discovery in human history, not because it's proof of death, because it would mean life starts easily, it starts often. And yet, the galaxy is silent, which means the filter didn't stop them at the start, it stopped them later, after they got further than we are now. The word for where we are in that sequence, before. If life is common, then silence stops being a biological mystery. It becomes a political one, a strategic one. This is where we leave Darwin and enter Machiavelli. The dark forest theory. The logic is this. Every civilization needs resources. Resources are finite. You cannot verify the intentions of another civilization. Not fully. Behavior changes over time. An ally today is a competitor tomorrow. A competitor tomorrow is a threat next century. The rational move, therefore, is preemptive silence. And if you detect another civilization, preemptive elimination. Not out of hatred, out of arithmetic. This is not science fiction. It is the logic of every empire in human history. Rome did not destroy Carthage because Carthaginians were evil. Rome destroyed Carthage because Carthage was growing. Because a growing rival becomes, eventually, a threat. Because in a zero-sum system, mercy is a liability. The universe operates on the same logic, just with longer timescales and higher stakes. A silent galaxy is not empty. It is a forest full of hunters standing still, waiting. And by that logic, we made a mistake. Voyager, the Arecibo message, the golden record, every signal we have ever sent into space. We lit a fire in the forest. We announced our position, our biology, our location, the exact composition of our atmosphere, and the fact that we are still primitive enough to think transparency is safe. If the dark forest is real, that wasn't an act of hope. That was an act of extraordinary naivety. The fire is still burning. We can't call it back. There are softer answers. Civilizations that transcended physical space entirely. Uploading consciousness, building inner universes richer than the outer one. Why colonize the stars when you can simulate them? Civilizations that found the same trap we're building now. Systems so interconnected, so optimized, so fragile that a single failure cascades into total collapse. Or the simplest answer. The distances are too vast, the timescales too long, and we are two ships that passed each other in different centuries, in an ocean the size of everything, never knowing the other existed. But here's what none of those answers change. The silence is real, and you have two options when you sit with it. The first, despair. The recognition that consciousness may be a cosmic accident, that intelligence may be a dead end, that everything we have built, every city, every symphony, every cure for every disease, may be as temporary as everything that came before us, and left nothing but silence. This is a valid response. It is in many ways the honest one. Or the second option. You let the silence be the answer. Not to the question of whether we are alone, but to the question of what you do about it. Nietzsche wrote that the most courageous act a human can perform is the thought that does not reduce reality to something comfortable. The silence is not comfortable. It does not tell us we are special. It does not promise us safety. It tells us we are here, conscious, aware of our own fragility, in a universe that has no obligation to care. And that, exactly that, is the only place where something worth building actually begins. Not in certainty, in defiance. Jung said the most terrifying thing is to fully know yourself. Machiavelli said power respects only power. Nietzsche said amor fati, love your fate, not because it is kind, because it is yours. The silence of the universe is all three at once, a mirror, a threat, and an invitation. Fermi asked his question over lunch. The meal ended. The question didn't. We are the first species in 200,000 years capable of answering it. Whether we will, that depends entirely on what we decide the silence means.